This is an extremely important point, ikhwani fillah. Nowadays, it's even more important. When there's lots of people speaking, we should not be hasty with regards to what we hear from the people, particularly towards the end of time, because there are many people who speak nowadays. There are many speakers who speak for Islam. They speak for Allah. They speak for the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They issue rulings. They say this is halal and this is haram. And they raise and they praise themselves and they put themselves in a position of having knowledge. And particularly now in the time where we have social media, that any person can get in front of the camera, even on his mobile phone. He can speak about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he can put it up. And so it's extremely important, this point of the Imam. Look at everybody's speech, especially in your time, the contemporaries, and weigh it up against the way of the companions and the great scholars of Islam. And if you have the way of the companions, don't leave the statement or the narrations from the companions for anybody else. Ikhwani fillah, this is the situation today, that you will have a man who has no real understanding of the fundamentals of this religion, and yet he is speaking and he is preaching, subhanallah, until you find people sitting, videos are up on social media, or they are preaching, be that, whether it's in front of a camera, be that at Speaker's Corner in London, be that on the mimbar at the masjid, be that in a gathering of people, and they are speaking and they have no real knowledge of that which they are saying. In fact, subhanallah, it goes further than that. If you were to turn on the television, you have entire satellite channels run by the people of misguidance. The people of shirk and the people of innovation, they have entire channels dedicated to forwarding their falsehood. Therefore, ikhwani fillah, it is an obligation upon us to verify everything that we hear and not to be hasty. Just because you heard somebody somewhere say it, and he had a hat on, or he had a white scarf on, or he has a beard, this doesn't make it okay. We have to go back and see, is it in line with the way of those companions radiyallahu ta'ala anhum? What is his basis? Is it the Quran? Is it the Sunnah? Or is it his own intellect? Is it his own understanding? This is extremely important. And another thing, in this day and age, everybody seems to have an ijazah. Everybody seems to have, a tazkiyah. Everybody seems to have a certificate from some place. Don't become amazed by that. Don't become amazed by that. We're going to look bi'idhnillahi al-kareem towards the end of this dars at some people who they graduated from prestigious universities where they sat with the scholars of the Sunnah, and yet when they came back, they deviated upon knowledge, subhanallah. And so, ikhwani fillah, it may be that a person has a little bit of speech, but he has understanding of the religion, and he's a scholar of this ummah. Or it may be that a person speaks a lot, whereas he is an ignorant person who has no real knowledge. And remember that he may have been blessed with eloquence, so that the way that he speaks, it moves you. And he may have what's known as magical speech. Magical speech. And so, ikhwani fillah, this is a big problem in our time. Abdullah ibn Masud radiyallahu ta'ala anh, he said that verily, he was talking about his time, you are in a time now where the scholars are many and the speakers are few. But indeed there will come a time after you in which the speakers will be many and the scholars will be few. So at the time of the Imam al-Nasa'i rahimahullah ta'ala in his Kitab al-Ilm, he brings this statement of Abdullah ibn Masud radiyallahu anhu, that right now in their time of the companions, the scholars were many, the speakers were few. But we come to times like today, the speakers are a dime a dozen, and yet the ones who have true knowledge of Islam, they are few. And my brothers, one of the things that we have to be aware of, particularly in this time of social media, is eloquent speakers who are calling us to magic, or they have magic in their speech. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Inna min al-bayani la sihra," that indeed some of speech is magic. The way that a person speaks, it moves you. It controls your emotions. It makes you feel a certain way. And so we have to be very, very careful of that.